Chancellor of SUSS, Mr. Stephen Lee, Chairman, Mr. Richard Yu, and members of the SUSS Board of Trustees, President of SUSS, Professor Chong Hee Kiat, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to be here for your first ministerial forum. The last time I visited your campus was 2012 when you were still UNISIM. Since then, you've undergone quite a few changes. You are now our 6th autonomous university. You take in full-time students. But your main mission remains to cater to working adults, unique among the autonomous universities. You specialize in lifelong learning and offer the most number of part-time degree programs with 12,000 students today. And you've built up a strong capability in adult learning and teaching, including through your Institute of Adult Learning. Your student profile is quite different from the other AUs because most students are a bit older, in the 20s, 30s. I can see it looking around the room. You don't have to put your hand up. Many of you are polygraduates. You are more mature. You've worked a few years. You know the job market. You are clearer about your life goals. For you, enrolling in SUSS is a major decision, especially if you already have family commitments and children. But you decided to do it. You are determined to succeed. It requires grit and commitment. And we will invest in you. We will help you to make it and support you to fulfill your aspirations. So go for it, or as young people say, FTW. Of course, I also hope that you'll keep on upskilling yourself after you graduate throughout your working life, not just when you're in your 20s and 30s, but into your 40s, 50s, and beyond. At the National Day rally in 2012, after I visited UNISIM, I spoke about two of your students whom I met, Alfred To and Natalie Chen. They were married, studying at the same time. Midway through the course, they had a child. So they paused their studies. Baby comes first. When their baby was a bit older, both Alfred and Natalie resumed their courses and eventually graduated. And I'm happy to report that both of them are doing well. Alfred is working at Daikin. He was there as a marketing executive. Since then, he's been promoted 3 times and now oversees Daikin's home automation unit. Natalie is at the ITE. She was a lecturer. She moved up to mentor new lecturers. She was offered a managerial track role, but she turned it down because she preferred to teach. And even better, they've had a second child. So now they have 2 boys, 9 years old and 6 years old. So SUSS, with its flexible programs, made all this possible. It's a happy story, but I don't think Alfred and Natalie's story is unique. Because in Singapore, if you have the will to succeed, you will find opportunities to improve your lives and to fulfill your aspirations. That was my message at the National Day rally nearly 3 weeks ago. I had 3 key points. 1, no one will be denied education in Singapore for lack of money. 2, this government plans long-term. And 3, in Singapore, with this government, what we say, we will deliver. I covered a whole range of issues at the rally. I talked about preschool, making preschool more affordable, especially for middle-income parents, not so rich, not so poor, but having to take their kids through this very important phase in their early lives. And making a good quality government-funded preschool option available to all Singaporeans, like HDB for housing or like the restructured hospitals and the community hospitals in healthcare. I talked about tertiary fees, that we would lower fees for SIT and SUSS for general degree programs, that we would significantly enhance bursaries for full-time university students, especially for the lower income students, but also the middle income ones as well. and some of you who are here should benefit from the enhanced bursaries from the next academic year. We have not yet revised fees and bursaries for part-time students. We looked at them, but we think that these fees and bursaries should be affordable for working adults. But we will review this, and if necessary, we will adjust them. I also talked about raising the retirement and re-employment ages and CPF contributions for older workers. I talked about climate change, a very long-term problem, but a very important one. I talked about our future development plans for Singapore, including the Greater Southern Waterfront, and of course, the state of the economy, amongst other things. We've been tracking responses to the rally speech. It's very interesting. There's a clear difference in the reaction of the young Singaporeans compared to the old Singaporeans. Everybody likes preschool fees coming down. Everybody likes university bursaries going up and fees coming down. But on the other subjects, the interests were different. For the young people, climate change resonated because they see the urgency of the problem and they want to do something about it. For the older Singaporeans, some of them think climate change is after my time. And they are focused very much on the immediate things: retirement age, re-employment age, CPF increase for older workers, and the economy. Will my job be okay? Will I have same overtime? Will I be secure? Will my family be secure? These are more immediate issues. They may see their own retirement approaching, be concerned whether they can continue working, remain active, and save enough for when they eventually actually retire. And it's quite understandable. What resonates with us depends on our stage in life, our life experiences, what we have seen, what we are preoccupied with. But I hope that each of us will also try to see the perspectives of others who are in different life situations. Young people, you are focused on the long term and on your futures, but young people will grow older. You may not think so, but I assure you it is so. And perhaps as you grow older, your interests and perspectives will converge closer to your parents. At the same time, old folks need to care about the future too and what young people think, because these young people, many of them will be their children and their grandchildren, and it is the world that their children and grandchildren will live in and will influence their futures and their lives. And if you care about your kids and grandkids, you must want to know what sort of tomorrow will it be. So in that context, I think SUSS students stand just in the sweet spot in between these two groups. You appreciate both perspectives, at least I hope so, because you're working now. The economy, the school and preschool fees, retirement, CPF, all these are things which will affect you immediately. But at the same time, you are young enough. Climate change and the Greater Southern Waterfront are things which will happen in your lifetime and certainly in your children's lifetimes. So I hope you will understand the government's approach. We take care of short-term priorities, but at the same time, we must look far ahead, prepare for the challenges and opportunities of tomorrow, to think for our children and their children too. Not many countries or governments in the world, but in Singapore, we try to do this very hard. And that's how we've secured our livelihoods and our future. We can't tell what will happen in the world. We can't predict for sure what will happen in the world. But I worry a lot that the next decade will be much more troubled for the world and for Singapore than the last one. And therefore, I'm determined that we will prepare our people the best we can. And I think Singaporeans know that we're as well prepared as anybody in the world to deal with the challenges ahead. So in that spirit, I encourage you to do your best, strive to fulfill your hopes and dreams, work together, make it come true. It's always very hard to make a speech a few weeks after the National Day rally. I cannot make the same speech. I have to take a different approach. At the National Day rally, my approach is long speech, no questions. Today, my approach is short speech so I can take lots of questions. So I will take questions now. Go ahead and shoot. Thank you very much.